The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc.
Welcome to the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we discuss the latest news and info the feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish or less. So whether you are a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, we've got you covered. So grab your coffee, your energy drink, your green juice, whatever gets you rolling. Kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed. We are your hosts. I'm Dan Sipe, and I am joined by, say it with me, the financial lady, Katelyn Murray, number one in your hearts. How you doing, Katelyn?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dan?
I don't know yet. Yeah. Katelyn, because I almost put it on today. Jerry, I almost went for the black t-shirt. Don't like the rumblings I'm hearing out there. So hopefully we've got some folks in the legislative world. Let's not use shutdowns as a lever of government, as a lever of legislative process. I know, it's very easy to disagree with the other side, with the executive branch, things like that. The previous 4 years had plenty of that. We don't need to shut down the government to do that. So don't make me put on the black t-shirt. Okay. Shutdowns don't help anyone. They don't help you get reelected. You might think they do, but they don't. Okay. It's kind of a scorched earth thing. Katelyn, did you ever read or watch The Stand?
I didn't.
Stephen King?
No.
Well, it's a post-apocalyptic thing. It's kind of interesting, but there's good guys and bad guys, basically. And the bad guy hopes to wipe out all the good people with a leftover nuke. And so they're going to drop it on them. And unfortunately, the person that enlists to get the nuke brings the nuke back to the bad guy.
Okay. There you go.
And then it goes badly. So that's the thing with shutdowns, folks. Okay. You might think it's going to do one thing, but it can do another. But more to the point, okay, don't hurt the dedicated men and women that make up the executive branch of government, and the employees of legislative and judicial. Don't do it. Okay. They're not the bad guys here. So don't hurt them with a shutdown. Pretty pleased with sugar on top. So hopefully,
pretty pleased.
I'll always just be able to stay in my regular duds, but almost had the black t-shirt. Almost had it. So Katelyn,
almost. Hopefully we can avoid it.
What do we got today? Because I kind of, in my prep work, I really like this episode. I like it a lot because we've spent some time on what's happening to our feds.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it sounds like, and we've got some things that they can do to advance themselves. So what are we looking at here?
For sure. Yeah, no, we've got a really interesting episode today. I am going to talk a little bit about the kind of wave that we're seeing of federal employees moving over to state government. We've had quite a few folks that are making that transition here in our client group. And across the board, we're sort of seeing that movement. And then in a little bit, Dan's going to talk with us about apprenticeship programs for federal employees who are potentially exploring new career paths in midlife, which is really interesting. So before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about this kind of movement between federal government and state governments that we're seeing. So obviously, I mean, if you're Fed and you're listening to this podcast, you're aware that this year we have seen a lot of agency downsizing, a lot of reactions to the return to office mandates. and shifting remote work policies, kind of prompting career reevaluation among feds, either of their own volition, right? They're just kind of thinking through what their options are, or, unfortunately, as a result of RIFs, right? So state jobs, as a result, have become increasingly attractive, allowing feds to work in smaller agencies with more local impact and potentially have greater flexibility and work-life balance. And also, just kind of that feeling of a fresh start, which I think psychologically is a big factor. Now, to kind of help you evaluate whether this could be a good move for you or not, we've got a little bit of a benefits breakdown here. So with regard to health insurance, on the federal side, you've got access to the FEHB program, you've got nationwide coverage, you've got multiple plan types, many plan types that you can choose from under FEHB, and the ability to carry that coverage into retirement if you have met your eligibility requirements at the time that you retire. Now, on the state side, coverage does vary by state. So
Sure.
We've got some states that have very, very, very good state government health insurance. We've got some states that maybe it's not as great compared to FEHB. And that varies, like I said, on a state-by-state basis. Some do offer competitive plans, though. Others, you're going to be looking at limited networks. You're going to be looking at potential higher out-of-pocket costs. If you are particularly folks who are outside the metro areas, I know, I feel you. I'm a little country gal myself. Outside those metro areas, sometimes you can have some higher out-of-pocket costs. It can be a little harder to find an in-network doctor, that's going to be a little bit more affordable. So definitely, this is a measure twice, cut once situation. So you're going to want to make sure, if you were somebody who is looking into state employment, you're going to want to make sure to ask for the benefits package. I'm weighing my options. I'm evaluating my options. Can you give me more details on what your health insurance looks like, on what your benefits plan looks like? That is a perfectly reasonable question to ask as a candidate who's interviewing for a position. Maybe not in the very first interview, but if you made it to the second or third round of interviews, you can ask that question. I'll say, myself, and I am the financial lady, but I
Don't
respect
say it
that
like
question.
That. You're the financial lady.
I respect that question from a candidate who's interviewing here with me, because it tells me,
Sure.
it's a little bit different for us because we deal with finance in particular, but it tells me that you're smart. It tells me that you are a long-term planner and that you're clued in and that you are really interested, right? So sometimes people are scared to ask that question. Don't be scared to ask that question. Anybody who is worth working for is going to be able to answer that
Sure.
for you. So looking at retirement benefits in particular, so pensions, right? That's the big thing. In the federal government, obviously we have FERS currently, CSRS, we see you, we love you, but everybody who's new hires with the federal government are looking at FERS. You got a 3-part benefit. You've got your basic pension, you've got Social Security, right, which supplements, and then you have your TSP/investment portfolio, right? And then the TSP, you are getting government matching. Now, on the state side, many states do offer pension plans. Many of those pension plans have generous formulas. However, in a lot of those cases, some are lacking a TSP equivalent or matching contributions to a qualified plan. Okay, so you want to be taking that into a consideration there.
Sure.
And lastly, some of those state pension plans do restrict participation in Social Security. One more thing you want to think about with regard to the pension plan under the state, particularly my folks who are mid-career or later and considering this transition, the state pension plan is going to have a qualification requirement, whether that's 5 years. State of Virginia, it's 5 years, right? Some states, it's 10 years. I believe Maryland is 10 years. In order to get the pension and retire with full benefits there. So if you're somebody who is considering a transition at 57, 58, and you've got a 10-year vesting period on your pension, that's something to consider. The other place where vesting periods are really important is if you do have a 403B plan through the state and your employer is making matching contributions, there's often a vesting requirement on those matching contributions. Sure. So if you're considering a change, probably a good idea to consider about how long you want to be working in that position, in that state position, and then kind of evaluate what's that going to do to me for a vesting perspective. Because there's nothing worse than thinking you're going to get a pension and then it turns out you're not vested, right? So don't let that happen to you. With regard to job protection, really quickly, we'll kind of touch on this. In general, historically, It may not feel this way in 2025, but historically, the federal government offers pretty strong job protection, pretty clear tenure rules, including priority placement and downsizing rules in general and historically. Okay. On the state side, it varies significantly. Some states have civil service systems and others follow at-will employment, which allows for easier restructuring or job elimination. So you want to know kind of what your situation is in your state or the state that you're considering working for. Now, key trade-offs here, things to think about. What are the vesting requirements? For me, that would be number one. What are the vesting requirements on my benefits through the state, right? Because that's going to determine how long do I need to work in this position to actually have that benefit me, right? It's not a benefit if it doesn't benefit you. And then the other thing is looking at and evaluating, what's the difference in the pension plan? What's the difference in the healthcare?
Sure.
And really personalizing it as far as, what do I need? What is going to work for my financial plan? Now, if you say to me, Katelyn, I don't have a plan, then it's going to make it really difficult for you to evaluate your potential options. So get a plan, whether it is serving those who serve or another Fed-focused fiduciary advisor. You want to make sure that this person is obligated legally to act in your best interest and advise you in your best interest. You need to have that long-term focus and that long-term plan in order to weigh those options. Couple more things to think about that I'll give you rapid fire. Some questions you should be asking. How long's your vesting timeline? Okay, for your benefits. Will federal service time count? Most often not, but there are some buyback rules on federal time. Okay, can service time be bought back? What benefits could be lost by making that switch? And will your federal retirement eligibility remain? Okay, so a couple of things to think out there. If you want to spend more time with this article, you can find it on STWServe.com and study up. If you've got questions, feel free to reach out to us at meetings@stwserve.com. We'd be happy to help you evaluate your options.
Absolutely.
Indeed. And that is that on that. Now, Dan, tell us about another kind of really interesting opportunity for transition and for career growth.
Yeah, Katelyn, this has been pretty exciting for me because it was an opportunity kind of for an old dog to learn a new trick here. I've always been aware and had a notional understanding of Apprenticeship USA. Okay, that the idea was to have a pathway for people to learn and appreciate and develop into a public service career. What I did not know was that it was open and eligible to existing feds. So you could be working in your initial phase of federal service, and you can explore these federal apprenticeship programs. So originally they were focused on early career hires, but now increasingly they're used by mid-career employees, and they can even be used for people that are trying to transition based on how government is reshaping. And the opportunities that you'll see here are in information technology and cybersecurity, healthcare and medical administration, skilled trades, facilities management, project and program management, and human resources and data analytics. Now, some of the key features is it's paid work plus hands-on experience and formal instruction, and you can learn while earning. There's no reason to step out of your current job or take unpaid leave. There's mentorship and structured career pathways, and ding, ding, super important, you preserve your federal benefits, service credit, and retirement contributions. So in my mind, that's a big deal. So who's it for? How do you get started? Designed for early career or mid-career federal workers considering a change, or employees navigating agency restructuring and buyouts, but also workers seeking skill upgrades for growth and mobility. So, Dan, this sounds great. How do I get started? I'll tell you how you get started. You contact your agency HR or training coordinator, and you can explore opportunities via OPM, internal job boards, or third-party partners. You can also talk with your union rep and workforce development contacts. So the important thing to understand is this can work as a smart pivot rather than a step back. So the apprenticeships can offer pathways to new roles or certifications, readiness for agency shifts without loss of benefits, and career growth while retaining federal service credit and retirement planning stability. Again, I've been doing this 40 years and I knew that was out there. I didn't know that there were pathways for feds. Did you know that?
I didn't know. No, I didn't know that there were like specific apprenticeship programs in these key fields, and particularly like information technology and cybersecurity. Like that is a huge field that is so, it's so mobile, right? Like going into information technology and cybersecurity, just, it makes you, I talk about this a lot with my stepdaughter because she's in that field and that's what she's studying.
Sure.
And like,
smart.
It will allow you to go anywhere, and it will also allow you to fix my computer when it's not working. So we love it for her, but it really is a very like mobile, set of skills. And I think I'm all about, and if anyone's listening to this who's a client of mine, they know because they hear this all the time, I'm all about options. I want you to keep as many options open for as long as possible so that you have maximum flexibility to pivot to wherever it is that you want to be. And I think what we have seen in particular this year is how, the hardiness of feds and also the transferability of the skill set. So, yeah. Love it. Love learning about these apprenticeships and really, really encourage folks. Apprenticeships aren't just for college students. Apprenticeships can be for anyone. It's always good to learn new stuff. And Dan, I think you are a shining example of that for us here personally. Yeah,
I
you
try.
love learning new things.
I do. It just takes longer.
All right, folks. So that is all the time that we have for today. But we'll be back next week to bring you all the latest updates that you need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed.
And folks, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. 70+% of you are not subscribed, which means there's a ton that can be. And number one, that way we'll be letting you know when episodes drop, so you don't have to go looking for it. Number two, you're helping your friends because that boosts us in the algorithm. So more people will learn about these, more people can see these. So if you're watching it, it helps. So by doing that, you're helping us, you're helping your friends, you're helping the whole world. So please, please, please be sure to do that. And if you really like this episode, share it with friends and colleagues. We meet so many people, and I'm not talking about people coming to work with us as advisors. We meet so many people just because one of our clients or somebody we've helped said, "Oh, you need to talk to these folks. They'll help you find all the answers you need." That's who we are. That's what we do. But you can help us do that. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast and also share it with your friends.
Absolutely. And for more information on the topics covered in today's show and more, be sure to check out our blog at blog.stwserve.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving, to get all the latest news for feds delivered straight to your inbox every week.
And don't forget those live webinars that we have every single week. Live webinars, live Q&A. They are awesome. And it's pretty much every single week. Some of the ones you won't want to miss that are coming up. We've got one that most places just don't do. And that's our estate planning webinar. We do a couple a year. And that's coming up on September 30th from 11 till 2, featuring the one and only Katelyn Murray hosting, and of course the incomparable Ed Zerndorfer. And then it's never too early. I know it seems like it is, but remember there's 2 tax dates. So those folks who are like extension people, we have our tax webinar on October 16th from 1 till 4. That is also with the inimitable Katelyn Murray. Or if you are looking for something a little more personalized, a little more like one-on-one education, hit us up at meetings@stwserve.com, and we'll be happy to meet with you and answer your questions, teach you what you need to know with the kind of overarching view of how that fits into your financial planning goals as well.
For sure. I love that webinar lineup. Katelyn or Katelyn. It's like when your mom gave you options for dinner and it was meatloaf or meatloaf.
Absolutely.
That's what you're getting.
Absolutely.
You're
way better than meatloaf.
Hey, listen, meatloaf was one of my favorite foods.
Okay.
My grandmother made a killer meatloaf, so I'll never turn it down.
Got it.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening to the Fed15. I'm Katelyn Murray.
And I'm Dan Sight.
And we will see you next week.
Absolutely. We'll be here.